thrill me.
This show is part of the Thrill Me Podcast Network. Experience more on Facebook and YouTube.
It's Review It Man, reviewing what he can. Movies are his jam, so let's get twisted, man. It's Review It Rob.
Hey, yo, welcome into a brand new episode of the Review It Rob Show. Appreciate you joining in on this week's episode. We're going to be talking about Bad Boys Ride or Die. I'll give you my spoiler-free thoughts on that film. Is it good? Does it live up to the other films? Is it the best of the franchise? We'll talk about that as well. Is this a comeback or a redemption story for Will Smith? We're going to talk about that as well on this episode. Also got news for you, horror news, DC news. Those are mandatory to every single episode. Got a little bit of Wizarding World news involving video games, and then some Hunger Games news for you on this week's episode. So again, appreciate you joining in. Let's go ahead and jump into the review here. Bad Boys Ride or Die. It is rated R for some sexual references, language throughout, and strong violence. It is currently playing in theaters with a runtime of 1 hour and 55 minutes, and is an action comedy movie, just like the rest of the Bad Boys films. The Bad Boys are back with their iconic mix of edge-of-your-seat action and outrageous comedy, but this time around there is a twist to the Bad Boys where they are now on the run. So that is the synopsis for the film. So what were my thoughts on the movie itself? Now, Bad Boys franchise, I've enjoyed the movies for the most part. The last movie, can be honest, a little meh about personally, but I know a lot of people enjoyed that one. So going into this movie, I was like, okay, I'm looking for a good time summer blockbuster movie. That's all I'm expecting from this movie. I saw the trailer multiple times in theaters and all that stuff, and it seemed like a Bad Boys movie, right? Where they're just adding this twist where we've seen in multiple action films, the twist of the good guys are now on the run at some point. We've seen that Mission Impossible and all other kinds of action movies. Eventually, at some point, the good guys or the heroes of the movies are the ones that end up being on the run from the law or something like that. So that's the twist that they're putting in here. There is a thing, and again, I'm not going to spoil anything, so I'm going to have to pick and choose what I talk about here with going around those areas. But with the film itself, how does it live up to the other films and all that stuff? With this film itself, before we get into that, I will say I did enjoy it. I liked the action bits are good in the film. The story is solid. The acting is pretty much like you would expect from any of the Bad Boys films. If you've seen the other ones, you know what you're getting with this movie. But with that said, I am pleasantly surprised with some things that they did do in this movie. Because it is pretty easy when you got a franchise for it to all kind of feel the same, where maybe it's up and scaled a little bit as the budget gets bigger. They're going for bigger things. Obviously not as insane as like the Fast and the Furious franchise gets as it goes on, but you kind of know what you're getting when you get into these franchise films. They kind of have their formula, and they kind of use it over and over again, add in something else some here and there, and all that stuff. Like, it can change, but normally franchises have their set thing. So going into the film, you were kind of getting the idea while watching that trailer that, okay, this is a Bad Boys movie, I get it. But what I enjoyed about the movie is they changed things up enough to where it made it feel familiar to it, but also had like this change to it to where it's like, okay, this is different. This is a different kind of view of things in this movie that's different from how you've done these movies before, right? I like what you're doing here. This is cool. This is interesting. This is a new kind of concept over here. So I like that. I like what they did there. And again, not spoiling anything, obviously, so I can't tell you what it is, but I liked that switch. I liked what they went with there. It was fun all around. 1 hour, 55 minutes. Didn't necessarily feel that long while in theaters. I've seen movies this year that have felt very long. Doesn't really feel long by any means, but I will say there is a good amount of scenes, maybe 1, 2, maybe even 3 scenes where I'm like, we really didn't need this. Like, this didn't need to happen. This kind of seems like filler to a degree, or it just seems like we're putting it here. And then sometimes maybe the story lost itself while in the writing process, the creation process of the movie. Maybe it lost itself at certain points, and we're just kind of adding and doing other things. Is the best way to describe it there. But overall, for summer blockbusters, it works. It was a good time. I had fun while in the theater, other than some of those scenes that I didn't really necessarily need. I thought the movie was fine. I thought it was solid enough. It was a good time. It was a Bad Boys movie, and I had fun. As far as the franchise, where, ranking and all that stuff, probably the third of the films. I think nothing will ever pass 2. I think Bad Boys 2 is the best of the franchise. Very solid film, good story, great action, man. I will never forget that car chase scene with cars flying all over the place and over the one car over Martin Lawrence's head while he's hanging out the car and all that stuff. That's freaking awesome. Like, Bad Boys 2 is freaking awesome, right? So it's got one. Then you got the first movie. Then I put this one there. Like I said, I wasn't the biggest fan of that last movie that came out, but this movie was solid. It was a good time, summer blockbuster movie. So if you're looking for something just to have a good time while in the theaters, here you go. And we've got a week buffer, kind of, between movies this week. I'll be talking more about that as far as things that are releasing this week on the Thrill Me Podcast Network. Make sure you're following along with us on Instagram and all the other social medias, except for X. But YouTube is where you'll see the video where I talk about stuff that's released this week. But this is kind of an open week for things, depending on what you want to see. So if you didn't get to see Bad Boys last week, or if you're waiting for reviews to help you decide to go see the movie, this week is an open week for you. So unless you're looking for like a family film, because like the only big movie that's kind of releasing this week is Inside Out 2. So if you're looking for a family film, or if you're just a fan of Disney, Pixar stuff, or you loved that first Inside Out movie, that's going to draw you to theaters. But like I said, it's probably an open week for people who aren't looking for that kind of movie. So you have that chance to see that, see Bad Boys Ride or Die this week. Now, as far as, is it a redemption story, comeback story for Will Smith, all that, off the top of my head, I don't remember the last thing Will Smith did since obviously the big news of the event that happened at the Oscars with him and Chris Rock. But that's kind of been a couple years now. People are maybe feeling a different way about Will Smith, because a lot of us, like myself, grew up in the 90s. Will Smith has always been there for us, like, so is Chris Rock and all that stuff. And I don't think Will Smith was right in what he did, but at the same time, some time has gone by and all this stuff. So feel how you want about it, I guess, is basically the way you want to say it now. But is it a redemption story? Is it a comeback story for Will Smith? Obviously it's very subjective if you're going to like Will Smith or not. If you're going to be a fan of an actor or actress or anybody, it's all up to, your opinion. But, what I will say is the film has overdone expectations. It's done very well at the box office. It was expected at a certain number. It's gone over that. So obviously the public opinion of Will Smith obviously can't be too bad if people are going to see the movie. Again, fun time summer blockbuster movie, yada yada, whatever you want to call it. But Furiosa has Chris Hemsworth, who people absolutely love, right? Anya Taylor-Joy, who's a big up-and-coming star, been a star for a number of years now. And that movie didn't do too well at the box office. Here we are with Bad Boys. That movie's doing better than expected. So is it a comeback story? Sure, probably is. Redemption story? Maybe could be seen that way, because, again, it's doing well at the box office. Maybe it's the familiar franchise that's helping. I don't know, because, again, we've had familiar things come out recently that hasn't garnered the box office success. So could very well be. Again, it's up to you if you want to be a fan of an actor or not. Again, I grew up in the 90s, Will Smith, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Men in Black, the Wild Wild West song, right? I, Robot, which I absolutely love that freaking movie. Just countless other movies with Will Smith. And again, Chris Rock's always been there. Loved his stand-up forever. Enjoyed his cameos in movies and his side acting in movies and stuff like that. So, it was an unfortunate event that happened between those two a number of years ago. Maybe it's time to move on. They probably have moved on at this point. I don't know what's happened privately between those two, if they've talked or not or whatnot. But I know Chris Rock did his bit and let his feelings be known, and that's where we're at now. So again, if you want to support it, Bad Boys Ride or Die is a fun summer action blockbuster movie worth your time to go see, in my opinion. If you want to go head out to the theaters and look for something to see other than Inside Out 2 this week, that is your option there. So yeah, overall I enjoyed that movie. Let's see, going from there, let's jump into DC real quick. Didn't really have any news for you last week as far as DC went. This week, a little bit of news, some casting news for James Gunn's Superman film, previously known as Superman Legacy, is now known as Superman. They have cast Michaela Hoover and Christopher McDonald for the film. They will be playing a pair of reporters for the Daily Planet, Kat Grant and Ron Troop. So those two, Michaela has done multiple films with James Gunn. So he's one of those James Gunn actors who he's bringing over to do the DC stuff. Or just continuing to work with, as we would expect he's going to do with many of people he's worked with, which is fine. I mean, you've got that familiarity, and I can't say that word apparently, and then that comfortable aspect, because you know what they can do, and you're casting people you know what they can do, makes the job easier, right? So nothing wrong with that. And of course, Christopher McDonald's has a great career as well, but most of you probably famously know him as Shooter McGavin in the Happy Gilmore films, which there's a sequel to that coming over on Netflix. So good to see him added to the cast there as well. But that's basically what's going on right now with DC. They're working on their projects. Other than the news we've already talked about on the show, they're just moving forward and getting ready to start the DCU next year. This year. Creatures Commandos will be coming out at some point, expected sometime this year. And then first live action film, Superman, will be July of 2025. So that's what's going on there. On the horror side of things, most news has been video game news. The Summer Game Fest happened over the weekend, so a lot of video game news around horror. Other than that, not a lot to pick up on at the moment that I'm seeing. One big thing to talk about since the last episodes, we do have news on a new Predator film that is on the way. Dan Trachtenberg will be returning. He co-wrote and directed the hit Prey film that was on Hulu last year. Did great streaming numbers for this service, and they're like, hey man, go ahead and do another one of these Predator films, man, why not? So they are giving him another Predator film. This one is called The Badlands. He'll be co-writing and directing this one, and will be also a fresh standalone film, much like Prey was. And the reports are saying that Elle Fanning will be the star of the film. So Prey was awesome. If you have not seen Prey, and if you've got Hulu, do yourself a favor, go watch that movie. That movie is fantastically awesome. Like, such a good time. A good sci-fi adventure freaking awesomeness. This action movie going on in that one. So check that out if you haven't seen it already, or go watch it again, man. But I'm not surprised that they're going into more work with Dan Trachtenberg and letting him make another standalone Predator film. It's cool. It's interesting to see that we're doing standalone stuff instead of connected franchise, but at the same time, no worries, no problems with that. That sounds cool, especially if we're getting more things like Prey, because that was awesome. And then on top of that, we're talking Elle Fanning, who, to me, incredible actress. Like, I remember the first time I saw Elle Fanning in something, it was that Super 8 movie. And just, there's this scene in that movie where she is playing like a zombie. It's a bunch of kids. If you haven't seen the movie, it's the kids are filming their own like creature zombie horror film kind of deal, and they have her playing like this zombie girl at some point. They're doing like an audition process for it, if you will, and she's doing that, and it's just freaking perfect. And I was like, holy crap, this girl is a great actress already. I should have known. She's freaking Dakota Fanning's sister. I'm like, obviously that should have passed on into, obviously Dakota's very talented. We've known Dakota's been talented since she was a little kid. So her sister being as talented as her, which I think is safe to say, I think they're both, very talented ladies and all that. So seeing that, and then just the stuff she's done, the Maleficent films and on, like, she's fantastic. So her being a part of this, love it. Excited about that. Can't wait to see, how that all turns out. Other than that, man, like I said, a lot of video game news. Friday the 13th stuff. Jason Voorhees is now in the Warner Brothers Multiverses Fighter video game, so which is apparently free. I was looking through the PSN lately, and that one came up. That's a free game to get, so you get that. Of course, Killer Clowns from Outer Space game is out as well, which I've been having a blast playing that. I haven't been able to play with friends online yet or anything like that, but the just playing it by myself, so much fun. That is just an absolute fun time, man. Like, I'm connected with the Killer Clowns in so many ways. That film came out the same year I was born, and just, of course, the 2 years it was at Halloween Horror Nights, just being an absolute blast and fun time that was awesome, right? So that game has been fun, and I'm glad that the franchise is getting to have some fun over there. And from all things I'm hearing and seeing, a lot of people are having an absolute blast playing that game. So good stuff there. Mentioned Halloween Horror Nights. And then again, that's basically it for the horror news before we get into Halloween Horror Nights stuff here, which I meant to talk about before we got into news, but you know me, I'm always all over the place. So I Is there anything else horror-wise to talk about? No, it's mostly video games, man. Yeah, trying to see. That's how the show works. I'm always Googling stuff while I'm doing the show because who has a script, right? We just do this show on the whim because let's make it real, baby. Um, yeah, there's a brand new Ghostbusters animated show coming to Netflix. Um, Timothy Olyphant, or also known as Timothy Olyphantastic, will be voicing the Terminator in the Netflix anime series Terminator Zero. Trying to see if there's anything else. Blumhouse, they did their debut. They've got 6 games that they mentioned in a quick trailer. They showed a trailer for one of the games. It's escaping my mind what the name of that is, but Blumhouse is getting in the gaming world now. And I believe, yeah, that's going to be it for horror news. So let's go from there. Let's go ahead and jump into Halloween Horror Nights. I meant to talk about this before, but Halloween Horror Nights officially announced its first IP house. Now, of course, they've already announced all of their original houses for the event, which they seem fun. We're now on to getting our IPs announced, right? All the IPs are what's left to be announced here, and they finally announced the first one. It's going to be A Quiet Place. The Quiet Place films will be brought to Halloween Horror Nights with not just the first film, but the second film as well. Quiet Place and Quiet Place 2 will be an all-new haunted house at Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights. So that is exciting. That is fun. I'm glad to have our first IP announced for that one. They've got some merch out for it as well. T-shirt, mug that is heat activated. So that's cool, right? And then was that it? Hat, maybe? No, they did not have a hat. Poster? I don't know. But yeah, good announcement. That's fun. I'm interested to see how they work it. It's going to have sign language in the house, so that's going to be cool to see and experience all that. And just interested to see how that works because the movie, A Quiet Place, as you can tell by the name, and this made me want to watch the movies, obviously. Normally when they announce IPs for Halloween Horror Nights, I watch the movies before going to the event. And, it got me excited enough with that news to go ahead and watch them. Again, I say them, I haven't watched 2 yet, but I watched 1. I watched A Quiet Place again recently. Good movie. Like, it's been a long time since I've watched it. My movie came out in 2018, something like that. And I didn't really see it when it came out. I think I saw it like a year later or so. But I watched it again and fine film, good movie. In all honesty, it is a good movie. It's very quiet, and I can imagine how awkward that is in theaters to see a movie like that because people suck when it comes to movie theaters these days. Either somebody's playing on their phone or talking or, all that stuff, but just quiet in theater and you're sitting there, you're like, all right, stomach, don't make any noise. All right, let me go and open. And I'm the person who honestly opens my candy if I get candy before the movie. I open it before I even get into the theater. Like if I get a box, boom, bag open, pour into box, right? Or if it's just a bag, go ahead and open that bad boy, and then we'll be ready to go because you wait for the movie, all that stuff. But I have started a diet, so no candy for me at movie theaters. But for the time being, until the Halloween Horror Nights trip. But as of just recently watching the movie, again, really good. That freaking, let me tell you, man. Let me tell you, Emily Blunt, fantastic actress, right? Oh my God, I forgot how good she was. Awesome in The Fall Guy, but this movie, acting her ass off, and she's fantastic. But watching that movie, like I still don't know. Like the creatures are insane, but I still don't know how it's going to work. Because the whole idea of the quiet place, you make a noise, boom, bang, those things are going to find it. They're like blind, right? They're blind, they can't see and all that stuff, so they're working off of sound. So if they hear you, they have great sound. They hear you, they can pinpoint where you're at, and boom, bang, they get you. So to see how that's going to work as a house and the sign language and all that stuff, I'm interested. Obviously, people walking through the house are going to be scared. So if they scream, are all the creatures going to come out at that point? Am I going to be collateral damage because this person in front of me screamed? What's happening? What is going to happen with this house? So it's going to be a fun time for sure. I always have a good time at Halloween Horror Nights. What am I talking about? But it is going to be interesting to see how they pull that off, to say the least. Let's see. Going from there, let's go ahead and jump into, let's see, Halloween Horror Nights for a second. Where is this house? Maybe third on anticipation list, maybe. Because that museum one I'm very excited about, and then Slider Cinema 2 I'm very excited about. So maybe 3. I have to look into it more, but maybe 3. But let's see. Going from there, I did mention earlier we have the Wizarding World news. We've got a video game, a new video game coming for the Wizarding World. Of course, Hogwarts Legacy was very successful, and they have now announced a new video game called Harry Potter Quidditch Champions. The first trailer has been shown for that as well. The game will be priced at $29.99 for the PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC. The game will be free for PlayStation Plus members on September 3rd to September 30th. Hey, that's me. I wonder if that's the free game for the month. We'll see in September. But yeah, there you go. Let's see. The game featuring iconic Wizarding World locations, characters, and references that fans will love. Harry Potter Quidditch Champions highlights the rush of flying across legendary arenas as either a beater, chaser, keeper, or seeker in a variety of modes, from backyard battles in the Weasley Burrow to high-stakes showdowns at the Quidditch World Cup. Players will soar into legendary arenas playing as or against iconic characters such as Harry Potter, Ron Weasley, Hermione Granger, or many other quintessential characters. The game will feature solo play, cooperative online matches, and competitive online player versus player games. The game will be releasing on September 3rd. If you are a PlayStation Plus member, like I mentioned, you will have it for free from September 3rd to September 30th. That really sounds like it's going to be the free game for that month, which if it is, awesome. That saves me $30, right? But yeah, obviously I'm going to play this. Like, this is one of the things that a lot of us Wizarding World fans were hoping for with Hogwarts Legacy. We're kind of upset about, I guess, that it wasn't a part of that game to play Quidditch. Probably will be a part of Legacy too. But this is fun. This is probably why it wasn't a part of the game as well. We have this game coming and all that stuff. So fun. Like, I'm excited. And this just reminds me that I need to finish playing Hogwarts Legacy. I started playing it, had an absolute blast, was in awe of every single second, like taking a long time to play the game, honestly, because I'm just looking around at everything and just in awe and just walking around inside Hogwarts and outside of Hogwarts and just looking at it and being, taken away by everything because huge fan. So yes, I need to get back. Probably just restart it, honestly, because what happened was I was playing it, and then the WWE game came out not too recently after that, and then it's like, oh well, that's gonna take my time. And then I got close to playing it. Then here comes Killer Clowns and all that stuff. I've honestly, if I get time to play video games, which is apparently very hard now, but when I get the chance to play them, I've been playing the WWE game mostly, so I need to get back into Hogwarts. I have several games I need to play. I got the Jurassic Park classic game redo thing that they did. Got that, haven't played it. Got the Star Wars Jedi Survivor? Is that the name of the second one? Survivor, yeah. Haven't played that yet. So I'm backlogged on video games. I really need to get back into it. But hopefully I need to get through it through September before this game comes out. But there you go, man. That's some Wizarding World news. Maybe we'll throw that into as a mandatory topic or the show. Because, again, it's stuff I love. And I like to talk about stuff on the show. So maybe. We'll see. And then last bit of news here before we get out of here. Speaking of famous books that have been turned into films, we have some news on the Hunger Games. The Hunger Games Sunrise of the Reaping has been announced. This will be first a book that will be releasing next year, and then the film will be releasing the following year in 2026. It'll be hitting theaters November 20th of 2026 to be precise. The Hunger Games Sunrise of the Reaping will be the 6th installment of the Hunger Games series and the second prequel. Of course, we had Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes that came out last year, which I absolutely freaking loved. Still listen to many songs from that soundtrack. Rachel Zegler, such a fantastic singer. And what a great movie. Really enjoyed that one. Highlight of the year for me. So this will be the second prequel that's come out for the Hunger Games. Of course, the other previous Hunger Games with Jennifer Lawrence as Katniss Everdeen and those whole stories. Haven't watched some Hunger Games movies in a while. But this is fun. It will center around Haymitch, who was, of course, played by Woody Harrelson in those previous Hunger Games films. It will follow... Of course, he was the mentor for Katniss and Peeta. So the film will be chronicling Haymitch's backstory and all that stuff. So fun, exciting. Glad they're doing that. Interesting. That'll be the sixth book, fifth, somewhere around there. But cool. Glad for it. Happy for the Hunger Games fans that are getting something else. Songbirds and Snakes did well last year, from what I remember. So, not surprised that we're returning to more Hunger Games after the success of that movie, man. But that'll do it, man. That is this week's episode. Hope you had a good time with the show. The gave you my thoughts on Bad Boys Ride or Die. If you saw it over the weekend, let me know what you thought in the comments. Or let me know if you're going to see it now, if you heard my review of the movie. Gave you some horror news. We got a new Predator film on the way. More casting for Superman. We've got a new Wizarding World video game on the way, and then a new Hunger Games book, and then movie on the way over there, man. So that'll do it for this week's show. As always, appreciate you taking the time to listen to me ramble on about movie stuff and all kinds of stuff I love and adore and get to nerd out about. So appreciate you taking that time to listen in on this, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, week, month, and year. And as always, hope that you remember that happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one only remembers to turn on the light. Talk to you all next episode.